Hello. Welcome to episode 12 of Addicted2Astrology. If you may notice, my music is the instrumental of New Edition's Is This the End? I chose this music today because not only is it group effort and ironic that I chose Is This the End as the title of this episode, but we are getting these feelings and energies in this earth right now with someone new we're going to talk about today, Chiron, in retrograde in Aries. Aries is new beginnings, the first and in charge, fiery, self-indulging sign. And its opposing sign is Libra, which deals with relationships and groups and how you relate to things. And boy, we're all going to relate to things today. Today's incense is frankincense, which gives you the vibe and the sense that you need to kind of mellow out, get ready for an ending like we are today. Today is July the 12th. Still Cancer season. It's the ending of Cancer season, the last realm. Tomorrow is my last child that I birthed. Birthday. Her birthday is July the 13th. Shout out to Zane. There's her baby picture when she was back in 2013, when she was about 1. We're gonna bring good fortune to all Cancers and all of us today. So I'm lighting the good fortune incense. Because even when things are ending, that brings light to a new beginning, brings healing, and that's what Cancer season is about. There are some things opposing Cancer season. That is the Capricorn opposition. We gotta stay hydrated because it's a lot to talk about today, of course. We're coming out of Mercury retrograde. Just came out this morning. We're about 8 hours out. However, we're in the shadow period. Neptune is still in Pisces in retrograde. There's 3 planets in Capricorn in retrograde. That's Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. The sun is still in Cancer for another week. We're almost ending these things. All things in retrograde means learning the life lessons before they go direct and can end and start anew. There's also Mars in Aries that's representing new, but there's still things we got to learn and pull through. All right, today we're also going to touch houses just a little bit, stelliums a little bit, because a lot of people had concerns on their birth chart. I'm offering birth charts of $25, and we will start talking and adding a la carte certain things like Chiron, which I'm going to get into today, that I'm going to add to charts. We're going to get into houses that I'm going to add for charts a la carte, meaning you will be able to buy the ones you want to buy. Your sun, moon, and rising are the most important or energy-giving placements. And where I want to start today is talking about that rising, that ascendant. So again, welcome to our 12th episode. Glad to be back. Sorry I didn't do the midweek check-in, but Mercury retrograde brought in a lot of healing and confusion all at the same time. So I just kind of felt that we weren't engaged properly or positively enough for me to do a weekly check-in this week. So I'm going to give it all to you today. Thanks for joining. Okay, so an ascendant, and I'm just going to go right into this because there's a lot to discuss. An ascendant is also known as your rising sign. It is known as the constellation that goes over the moon. It's a group of stars. What is a constellation? A group of stars forming a recognizable pattern that is named after, our signs or mythological figures. So mine is in Libra, and it means I come across to people as a Libra if they do not see my Scorpio traits in any way. Now, I do have, I'm also going to be talking about critical degrees today. So there's definitely a lot to talk about. So I'm going through this really quickly. I have a sun in 22 degrees of Scorpio, which is an intensive, iconic degree. I'm going to get to degrees later, but with having my sun in an intense critical degree, my Scorpio tendencies definitely overpower my ascendant from time to time. However, the ascendant is definitely how I present myself in society, so it's a strong aspect as well, or a strong placement rather. The ascendant rises from the east, which is where we get our timing anyway, which is why the time is important, and the area, the geography, the place you were born is also important to know on your birth chart. I can't really tell in detail about you, or you cannot tell about yourself on a birth chart without the time and the place. It is very important, because when we are taking from the east and starting there to decide where your placements fall, we won't know that unless we have the geography, the place you were born. I was born in Washington, D.C., and the time, I was born at 4:35 a.m. Tomorrow we will be celebrating my Cancer daughter's birthday at 10:20, which is when she was born on July 13th, 2012. She will be 8. Yay. Shout out to the Neptune in Pisces that we're still in right now in retrograde. Shout out to that generation, and that is her generation. My other 2 kids are Neptune and Aquarius. I did a Neptune and Aquarius Scorpio child's chart just yesterday, and that was very interesting as well. It's very interesting going into other generations. That is Generation Z, the Neptune and Aquarius, and my youngest daughter Zane is in Generation Alpha. So it's very interesting to get new placements and learn those placements and remember back to when those generations began and how they are turning into now. So if I have given you a birth chart and you were excited about that, it's also good to know your own children, or even your partners, but it's definitely good to know your own children, because we are definitely seeing where they are going, especially pushing through 2020. So it's good to know those things so we can know what is important about your ascendant and your rising sign. The houses, and I'm going through this today, you all, for the 12th episode, because this is an ending to the first realm of my episodes. Like, I have gone through a lot with you all, and I plan on doing something new for the 13th episode, because that is going, like, I'm basing my episodes kind of on degrees. So I'm going through the next realm in a different manner, in a more evolved manner from here on out. So I'm touching on quickly some things I haven't touched on, that I've talked about, brought up, but really haven't gotten into, and I'm still not going to get into them too heavy today, because astrology is huge. So I would really like to just drop seeds, like I like to say, and we will come back and watch them, see how they grew as my episodes progress and this YouTube channel progresses. So thank you for being part of this YouTube channel. Thank you for viewing, subscribing, liking, and commenting. I appreciate you all so much. You don't even know. And thank you for following me on Instagram, Facebook. Thank you for supporting me in all my endeavors. Ashe. All right, I started at 12:12 today because, again, it is the 12th episode. We're going to stay with some themes today. All right. So houses, we're speaking on houses. So houses in your chart, and I will show you in a clip right after this. Houses in your chart are what you are mainly focusing on in life, what your life is focused on. If you have on the chart where there are planets and then there are Roman numerals or numbers next to them, that is your houses. Your planets they can all have similar houses, they can all have missing houses. Empty houses, meaning the houses that you don't see between 1 through 12. Say you have a missing 4th house, or you have a missing 8th house, which is pretty good for you, or if you're missing 12th house, that's good for you. I like to tease about the 8th and 12th house, and I can't wait to get in that deep with y'all, but if you're missing houses, that is not a main focus, that is not an issue, there's no worries there. So I have some empty houses. I think I have 5 empty houses, and I can't tell you them off the bat, but I more concentrate on my stellium houses, or I concentrate on certain planets that have certain houses in them. We would go into stellium right after how I break down the houses really briefly, but stelliums focus on your good and your bad issues, okay, or concerns or strengths. All right, so the first house is where I actually have my stellium, and that is the house of self issues. It has to do with yourself. It has to do with what you are dealing with, in what way. So, for example, mine is in the sun, one of them, and I have to deal with how I present myself to people. I have to deal with, and then this ties into everything else I'm going to talk about today, especially Chiron in retrograde in Aries. So first house also represents the first sign, which is Aries. So my sun is in the first house ascendant, which has to deal with not only my sun Scorpio sign, it has to definitely deal with my Libra ascendant, because it is in the first house ascendant. And we will dig into all this, you all, I promise, as the episodes progress, but I just want to give you a brief breakdown of all of them so you can kind of get an example of what you're looking at on your own charts. All right, the second house, the second sign is Taurus. So the second house has to deal with Taurus characteristics. It's how you, it's your values and what you have to offer. The third house has to deal with Gemini, which is communications, familiar places, social and intellectual learning. My third house is in the moon, actually. So I have a Capricorn moon, but my third house is in the moon in Sagittarius on my house chart, right? And hopefully this is not going over your head. I'm talking quickly because I got a lot to say. But it's how you gain control of your emotions, how you communicate your emotions. So mine is in the moon, which makes it even more complicated, or something I need to pay attention to. I don't have a third house stellium, but I do have it in a significant place. The fourth house is domestic issues, emotional stability at home, your family roots, your deep emotions, your self-worth. The fifth house, and that's in Cancer. The fourth house is the fourth sign of Cancer. Leo's the fifth house. These are Leo traits. It deals with creativity in the fifth house, deals with children, self-expression, romance, entertainment, and gambling. So risk-taking. Risk-taking also has to do with Sagittarius too. Sixth house is Virgo, has to deal with health and what you do on a day-to-day basis. My son has a lot of sixth house in his chart. He has a sixth house stellium. So we are dealing with him being kind of lazy and not moving much. Dealing with him eating too much sugary foods, too much meat, too much his eating habits. He has a Taurus ascendant, so his eating habits need to be dealt with, and we need to get out more. And also has to deal with material transactions with the sixth house. And my son definitely likes to get games. In that he's 13 going on 14, so that is kind of the thing, especially with Neptune and Aquarius generation, especially with Generation Z. All right, Libra is the seventh sign, so the seventh house represents relationships, how you relate to everything. I'm talking about people, entertainment, the world, groups, organizations you're involved in, associations you have. Scorpio is the 8th sign. That is the 8th house, my favorite, because I am a Scorpio. I have 8th house in 2 places as well. It's in Pluto and Lilith. I mean, no. 8th house is in Lilith, and my 12th house is what I'm thinking of, because I always compare those two. Very deep, dark houses. Anyway, 8th house is your desires, your deep transformation, your emotional security, and your personal business. Sagittarius is the 9th sign. The 9th house has to do with higher learning, long distance traveling, religion, spirituality, teaching, and learning as well, and shaping your identity. My example for this house, I have Jupiter in the 9th house in Gemini. So I communicate, I like to get information. This is why I do what I do. And I like to, communicate. That's why I am a YouTube personality rising. I'm coming in here, and in Jupiter, that really is something that will boost my luck. It'll expand my mind and others. So that is why I do these YouTube presentations and episodes, because I am trying to expand my luck and my financial situation with doing birth charts and speaking on and interpreting your life as I learn my own personal life and the life of those who rely on me, like my children. All right. The 10th house, the 10th sign is Capricorn, so the 10th house has Capricorn characteristics. These are material desires as well, the career path, your place in society, how you grow, where your power is, what your reputation is like. My 10th house is in Saturn in Leo, and it is also at 29 degrees on my planet placement chart, and 29 degrees is the ending of that era, of the Leo era. So I was learning, I guess, as Leo being a sun sign and me having that sun intensive degree, I was learning definitely how to manage my career. It's also 10th house, me having the 10th house in Saturn also has to do with me learning how to move on from the career I've had. I had 17 years in teaching, and it's time to move on. I can still teach because of that Jupiter in the 9th house, but I can be more elevated with teaching. I can expand my teaching. I can take my teaching into astrology. I don't have to teach children. I can start teaching adults. I can not confine myself to a school building. I'm building a homeschooling curriculum where I want to expand schooling online for parents who are not comfortable with their children going back to schools, who want their children to expand their minds and not learn the same restrictive education that we've learned all these years. It's a lot with that 10th house too. So I'm gonna definitely come back and talk about the 10th house more too. Aquarius is the 11th sign. The 11th house has to deal with unfamiliar faces, how you conduct yourself in public, how you would like to be part of social and intellectual and groups that have to deal with, communicating, and it also has to deal with your security and how you protect yourselves from those groups as well. And last but not least is Pisces, the 12th sign. The 12th house is that one that I keep scaring everybody about. If I see 12th house on your chart, I definitely immediately let you know, because 12th house has to deal with your subconscious. It has to deal with your endings, like we're discussing today. We're in that 12th house vibe today, but we're going to make the most out of it, okay? Because 12th house does make you victimize yourself. It does make you have escapism for certain things that you don't want to heal from. It has to deal with yourself and your spirituality and your intuitions. And mine is in Pluto, which is the transformational planet, and mine is in North Node, which is my destiny. So I definitely have to work on my 12th house placements as well. So those briefly were the breakdown of the houses. We're getting ready to talk about stelliums. Shout out to other YouTube personalities. I watched Tasha K to get pumped up, but I feel like I watch everybody so long and into the middle of the night, into the wee hours of the morning, that I come here and I'm not refreshing myself. So I got to work on my timing. I got to get my timing back together and get more sleep. But shout out to YouTube personalities like the Book of Mormon, the universal Love-Lo and D-Lo, the pilot man who loves to smoke while he talks about astrology. So I love watching him. I get a lot of my notes from those people that I shout out. Shout out to Molly. I forget her last name. She's a white lady, but she really does really good astrology. I'm just gonna roll up. Shout out to my ex. Mercury retrograde brings back the exes. I'm gonna talk about that too. Mercury retrograde brings back the exes, and I just could not connect with finding a connect, and I broke down and called my ex, and we ended up having a really lovely night. He brought me a whole bottle of Moet. I've never felt like that since like 96, since I was like 18, and we just hung up till 5 o'clock in the morning, professing our love to each other and all kinds of crazy stuff. So healing. And then I found out he had a Pisces moon. He's a Sagittarius. He wanted to break the whole thing down. It's kind of the same breakdown I had with Zane's father, who was also a Sagittarius. They were back-to-back dealings. It was a whole lot with that thing. Stay tuned to my book. That is definitely coming out. This will probably be in part 3, the beginning of part 3, meeting the 2 Sagittarius baby daddies of mine. One whose child I did not have, the other whose child is celebrating a birthday tomorrow, and they both have Pisces moon. And the one I'm talking about, long story short, that brought me this weed, has 8th house in Lilith like I do, and he also has 8th house in Jupiter, which means he'd make a lot of money off of porn. I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go on with the stelliums, y'all. So here we go. All right. Stelliums are a group of stars that reside in one space on location. So shout out to Tasha K too. Tasha K has a wedding anniversary in Cancer, and she lit up. She doesn't do astrology, but she lit up into Miss Jada Pinkett, who is a Virgo, and Will Smith, who is a Libra. I'm not sure what August Ascena is. Somebody let me know what his sign is, but she dug into them, and I just like her energy. So shout out to Tasha K. She gets me pumped up for these episodes as well. Shout out to all the Black astrologers and YouTube personalities, up and coming and OGs. All right, so when you think of a stellium, you think of your house building up for like a stellar event. A bunch of stars are in one building, meaning the house. The house is the building, and that building gives attention to that one stellium. Wherever you are on your birth chart, you have the same houses. So like I said, mine has an ascendant. I have an ascendant in Sun. I have an ascendant in, go ahead and take a look of what I have an ascendant in. What I have a stellium in. So like I said, as you can see, I have 3 of those stelliums in in the first house ascendant, right? But I really want to talk about the first house in the Sun, which is my personality, what I give and put out into the world and the collective. And it is my first impression to everybody. It's my style, it's how I dress, it's how I look, it's my aura, it's my vibe, it's my actions that I show and I take. And it's how I shine bright. It's how I'm magnetic as a Scorpio. It's also how I am attractive as a Libra would be. I attract many people as a Scorpio would. I like involving myself in groups of people, many people, which is what a Libra would do. Air is extremely communicative, so Libras are very extremely communicative, and water is super intuitive, so people feel my vibe, they feel my flow, they feel how deep my river goes. You bring on a oneness, or water brings in a oneness. So when you have a stellium in a water placement, people will, tap into what you're tuned into, which is what I'm trying to do on this YouTube channel. It could be too much for some people, especially what I'm going to with my Chiron lately. It could be too intense, which has to deal with the degrees when I'm getting ready to go into the critical degrees after this. My iconic degree in the sun, in the first house placement. So I am also Venus and Uranus in the first house as well. Now, before I start on talking about critical degrees, I'm always sending shout outs to other Black businesses, because we got to build, y'all. We really got to collaborate and stick together. And I'm going to shout out Bruja Society, which is my brown sisters down actually from Panama City and San Antonio, Texas. I met them online. We just vibed. I did their birth charts. They're awesome millennial generational people. They are Neptune and Capricorn. They are we collaborated, and I'm going to be part of the Bruja Society and their podcasts on starting next Wednesday, talking about astrology and birth charts. Shout out to my cousin Marcy, who makes tinctures. I'm going to start a brand with her as well, so stay tuned with that. And we're going to be doing like holistic medications through catalog, like you would do with Mercury. We're in the Mercury shadows, y'all, so I'm still kind of confused, communicating a little off. We are in, what was I saying, y'all? We are in a time where we have to collaborate. I'm gonna hope y'all know where I was going with this, but this is gonna burn. This is probably why I'm thrown off right now. But you put this under your tongue. This helps my asthma, so I'm getting off of pharmaceuticals, moving into a new era of treating myself. Now, of course, I still have my, I'm not stupid, I still have my, my pump and stuff nearby. I'm not throwing it away, but I'm also not stupid in thinking that I'm going to stay on man-made products and not tap into products that are from the earth. This is all natural. This is actually lobelia, and this helps your immune system. It helps you breathe. It opens your chest up. I also have, I'm actually not going to take this one. I'm going to take the lobelia cayenne. This is mixed with something else, but lobelia is like a flower. It's a plant turned into liquid form to help me breathe. I put it under my tongue. On 5 seconds. It starts burning, I swallow it. It's not about the taste, y'all. It's not about the pain, because beauty is pain. Whew. But it really opens up my chest. Cayenne, of course, is that kind of peppery taste. Whew. But it really helps. On top of me using sea moss, shout out to Blue Nile, using sea moss for and Metro Herb Shack as well. Shout out to them. They actually have the purple sea moss that I'm trying to pick up this week. The sea moss gets that mucus out, because I still love to eat ice cream in the summer, and it makes my congestion and my chest tight. So I had to throw those Black businesses out there. Shout out to y'all. Critical degrees. I talked for 3 minutes, over 3 minutes about that. Critical degrees. All right, so what I do differently than other birth chart interpreters or readers or astrologers is I add critical degrees or discuss degree realms on your birth charts, which you won't get on the free website. You'll get general basic things. So when it's general, which is nothing against these websites where you can get your free birth chart, because you might want to get an opinion anyway, so you might want to buy one and get one free. And get one free from some, website that's online that offers the free birth charts, but it won't dig into your degrees. But you always want to get a second opinion. So degrees are important because these are the placements that you have intense, iconic type of energies, and they are definitely important on how you live out your life. So each cardinal, mutable, and fixed signs, so that is 4 signs and 3 different groups, they have various degrees that are intense, as well as 0 degree in every sign and 29 degrees in every sign, which is the beginning, 0, and 29 is the end. Like I said, I have Saturn in the 29th degree, so in Leo, and I am ending that era of Leo, ending that, mastering that position. Whereas if I had something in 0, and I think I have a 0 placement in Aries in one of my houses, the 6th house, I'm beginning to learn. 6th house is health. I'm beginning to learn how to take care of my health better. I'm more determined to figure out my day-to-day dealings or what I do. I'm putting more action into it. Like I said, my son has a 6th house stellium. Not talking about his degree, but just needing to do things around that. And then by me having a 0 degree in the 6th house, I definitely need to work on those things in the 6th house. Okay. Another example is that I have the 22nd degree in the sun. So, like I posted a few weeks back, if you have a birthday like in the middle, or no, the 22nd will be at the last week, because it varies depending on your time and geography. Definitely varies about the date, but the fixed signs, which is what I am, Scorpios, Taurus, Leos, and Aquariuses, those fixed signs have 8 and 9 degrees and 21 and 22 degrees still. Critical degrees, right? So fixed signs, degrees again. If you look anywhere and you have anything in your chart that's in Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, or Scorpio, and it says next to those signs 8 degrees, 9 degrees, 21 degrees, or 22 degrees, like I'm getting ready to show you here, that means that you have an intense energy of those characteristics that come out of that sign and that planet together, and you will need to be aware of that as you move into those characteristics or that learning or that whatever's going on with that planet with those degrees. Check it out. All right, not only is the significant or critical degree important on your birth chart, but it's also important with transits as well as direct movements or progressive moons, so to speak. So before I get into that, the planet plays a big role for cardinal signs. Cardinal signs are Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. So the cardinal sign critical degrees are especially 0, even though it's 0 in every sign, okay? But it's especially iconic or intense at 0 degrees in a cardinal sign. It is especially intense at 13 degrees in the cardinal sign and 26 degrees in the cardinal sign. For example, I have my 6th house at 0 degrees, like I said, in Aries, and I have my 12th house, which is at 0 degrees in Libra. Those are the opposing signs. My 12th house is also in my North Node, so I'm coming into learning how to balance out these energies in my destiny, between my destiny of learning how to relate to people with Libra, and my destiny with learning how to deal with myself and my aggression and my motivation, as I had in my South Node with Aries. Hopefully you all are keeping with this. I will come back to it, I promise. I've done stuff on North and South Nodes as well, so you might want to look back into my previous episodes. Lastly, we're mutable signs: Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo. It's at 14 degrees and 17 degrees. Those are the critical signs for mutable signs. All right, we're going to talk about the planets and how important they play a role really quick, going through the critical degrees. Again, when you're looking at your birth chart, if you are trying to teach yourself, if you don't want to teach yourself or it's still confusing, please do not hesitate to ask me any questions. If I've done your birth chart, please do not hesitate to contact me back if you find something interesting in what I'm saying and it matches on your birth chart. Also, if you are interested in the current forecast, because we have a lot of transits that are going on right now this past week and going into the future of certain critical degrees and transits, especially the progressing moon, new moon next week. So critical degrees are definitely extra work, so I'm willing to do a la carte. A la carte does not cost a lot because it is, for example, it would be like $5 a degree explanation or interpretation or house, because you want them added to the birth chart you already have, just for more depth and more detail of certain things, as well as they're not really offered on other birth charts, which is why I like to say Scorpios are very personal. It is more about personal than business with Scorpios. So I personally would like to be different from other astrologers. I learn from other astrologers. I put everything together and I create my own. All right, with that said, a progressive moon, which is just the moon being the fastest moving planet, it changes its degrees and its signs often. So this could bring a crisis, or it could bring an opportunity of change. So if you have a critical degree in a progressive moon placement, be aware that it could bring a crisis of sorts when it is in that degree, or it can bring an opportunity of change. So like, for instance, if the new moon in Leo is at 8 or 9 degrees in a certain time next week, and you have that on your chart, it will affect you in a good or bad way. If you have 21 or 22 degrees in Leo of the new moon, or it can also affect the collective at that time. So whenever the moon hits 22 degrees on your chart, like I do, I use time passage, and you can see the degrees moving on time passage app. And I will show you mine, where it shows what degree the actual moon, progressing moon, is in at that time of the day. So it could be like at 22 degrees at 12 o'clock on next week, on July 22nd, I think it is, and I will get back with you on the midweek check-in on exactly when the new moon is coming in. But it should be the beginning of the Leo season, which is after this week. Shout out to Leos. All right, quickly moving on. Uranus in a critical degree rules astrology. So those of you who have Uranus in any of those critical degrees that I talked of in certain signs, astrology would be a deep part of your life, or spirituality. For example, mine is in the sun again at Scorpio, so my self is my overall personality and how I present myself is important and intense and iconic. Venus at a critical degree brings attention to money and relationships. Mars in a critical degree brings how you use your energy and your actions, how you motivate yourself. Jupiter in a critical degree is how you are enthusiastic, how you expand yourself, how much you take on. You could take on too much, you can need to take on more. Saturn in a critical degree is how you plan and how you work and how you present yourself and your power with things, and your masculine energy as well. Your feminine energy is more with the moon. Neptune in a critical degree it shows how your spiritual, your subconscious, your intuitive, your magnetism and all that at a critical degree. It expands that. I mean, it makes it more intense. And Pluto especially is how you are obsessed, how you transform with yourself and the collective. Your desires are more intense if you have Pluto in a critical degree as well. All right, I just wanted to touch on one thing. Last time we talked, we were talking about the full moon and eclipse and all, but I also said I would get back to Neptune's generations. I promised I would do that. If not, Tuesday, like in a quick episode of Neptune's generations, and then I have to get on to Pluto's generations and Uranus's generations. So I promise to get back to that, because that I already have notes for and I need to finish them, and then I will present them to you. All right, so last time we talked about the full moon in Capricorn lunar eclipse, and that is my moon, so that was a really important moon. I feel like I have soared since last Sunday, y'all. I got so much to talk about, so we're definitely going into this now. We've already gotten our lessons for today. I got personally, and I spoke on who will really receive these boosts of energy. Definitely people with Capricorn moons, definitely Cancer, because we're in Cancer season, definitely water signs, definitely earth signs. You will get a boost of energy, you got a boost of energy from that lunar eclipse that happened last week. And you will also get a solar energy boost from the Cancer, because Cancer opposes Capricorn. We had the Capricorn full moon lunar eclipse last Sunday. I mean, no, not last Sunday, Saturday, because it happened on July the 4th. All right, so it happened on July the 5th in some places. There again, it's important to know your geography and pay attention to your forecast on where you are on this earth. So this boosted you to get ready for the new things, the new eras, the new starts of life, right? The things you're ready to reveal, your feelings, revelations, happenings that need to happen, your breakthroughs, your shared ideas, your flights that need to be taken or canceled. This goes into two of my Cancer friends that had trips that they went on. You're not supposed to take trips during Mercury retrograde. They didn't have the best time, so either they should have rescheduled their flights, or they still should have taken their flights to learn what they need to learn when they took their trip. The breakthroughs and shared ideas that I've had this week. I had 2 exes, my favorite exes at that, though. My favorite exes always come back on Mercury retrograde heavy, and it never fails with me that I have an ex that comes out of nowhere. And I'm talking about these last 2 days. Today is Sunday. One ex was Friday. The next ex was just last night. So they not only had a breakthrough with themselves on why they came back to me, they also had a breakthrough with professing their love to me. And I'm dead serious, I'm not lying, y'all. I definitely told these dudes I love them. They've told me they love me, but it didn't really feel genuine until this last 2 nights that I experienced with them. One over the phone, one face to face. It was mind-blowing, y'all, and we just connected. During this time, especially from that lunar eclipse, you're going to either connect with people really well, or you're going to break away from people like crazy. Another example is I got over 8, and I'm not exaggerating with this either, I got over 8 business opportunities. My cousin's business, a business that my friend, shout out to Ikea. Kia started a podcast she wants me and her to do on astrology and spirituality. I joined the Bruja Society, and we started recording for our upcoming shows. I don't like to tell out everything, but I'm putting it out there because I'm hoping other people have breakthroughs as well and other connections. My LA and Vegas connections hit me up with some stuff this week. And shout out to my sister Skinny Pimp, who's celebrating not celebrating, we're celebrating the 5th anniversary of her life in another realm. She's not here with us anymore. She's living life wherever she's living in her new position on earth. But her past life, we're celebrating her being gone for 5 years on this earth in the physical. And her brother, who I also call my cousin, gave me some gems that are going to really help me soar. So did my Vegas connection. Shout out to Raquel. Again, shout out to my cousin Marcy. I can't think. It was just a lot of opportunities I got this week that I wrote down and I got to get to work on. I don't want to put too much on myself, but I want to definitely get to everything. So I also spent time with my first best friend, who was a Capricorn, my first best friend from when we were growing up and talking about elementary school level. And we made connections. She's been helping me move on. I have to move out of this house, like I've said before. I got to separate myself from leaning on this house too much in the past, and I got to move on into new areas. So this is really an ending for me too, y'all, really. And eclipses, that was the end of the Capricorn Cancer North Node and South Node that we just left back in April. And now we're in the Gemini and Sagittarius North Node and South Node era. We just left that with that last lunar Capricorn. So this is all about endings, y'all. Capricorn is a slow-moving energy. It just came back in all these planets, or it just came back in a Saturn from Aquarius, which is the new era we're moving into by the end of this year that I always talk about. Saturn came back into Capricorn. It is slow-moving energy. We have it in Pluto and Jupiter, and they're all in retrograde. So it is something that everybody's going through right now that's holding us all back, or it is still giving us lessons to be learned. And Mercury also was delaying us this past week, and it's last week. It's like these rock bottom things that are happening to everybody, breaking us down, are also building us up because they are ending. Okay, then the energy from Mars being in Aries is powerful to motivate us. Uranus being in Taurus is powerful. Uranus is that planet that is just like Neptune. They both can be in retrograde, or they cannot be in retrograde, but they're still tricky. Uranus is in Taurus, and Taurus is that money-making, go-getter, hard-working planet sign as well. And it's in the planet of Uranus, which is a surprise planet. It's rebellious. That energy is affecting us as well, even though it's not in retrograde. Neptune being in retrograde in Pisces is giving us that illusions that we got to pull away from and dig into. Then what we're getting ready to talk about today is Mars and Chiron both being in Aries. Chiron went into retrograde as soon as it came through on the 12th, I believe. Today or yesterday, sometime recently. And Mars being that action planet is forcing Chiron, which is the wounded healer. Chiron is an asteroid. It is the wounded healer. They both are in Aries, which is, that motivational leader, first sign of the zodiac. And they bring up past traumas. They both are making a conjunction because they both are at 8 and 9 degrees, so they're very close to each other in the same sign, dealing with the early realm. The 9 degrees is the early stage of Aries, dealing with our past issues from our childhood. And Mars helping that action take place. So Mars is really helping Chiron push itself to heal. And Chiron is at 8 degrees. So this is early in life themes. And although this is painful, the conjunction, the aspect, the transit from this happening this week actually is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold up my book so I can read my notes. It's helping us it's helping us be more conscious with our behavior patterns. It's helping us come in. The more I drink water, I have my water holding up my notes, so that's the problem here, y'all. Let me stay focused. I want to look at y'all, but I definitely want to get everything that I have on the notes. I'll put it right here. I have on the notes out, so especially with the Capricorn energy and the Cancer energy going on right now. I have Jupiter in Cancer. So I'm dealing with my financial, especially. My financial has to do with me having my Chiron in Taurus on my birth chart. Again, I'm going to start putting Chiron, which is really important right now because everybody is dealing with this retrograde as a whole. We have to figure out what the earth needs to heal from, as well as individually. We need to know what we need to heal from. So it's important. Not a lot of free websites, even the one I use. So I would just have to add it. Not a lot of the free websites give your Chiron either. So I would have to look on the wheel and let you know with that. So like I said, mine is in Taurus, and we are in Aries. The tricky thing with the Neptune and Pisces retrograde tied into this. Neptune rules Pisces. It also rules that 12th house that I love to talk about. It also can be direct or retrograde, but it's in retrograde right now. So what is the world escaping from? What are we needing to lean on with spirituality? What are we hiding and repressing? Be careful of what you're be careful of what you're hearing, consuming, taking in and absorbing with Neptune in retrograde in Pisces. What you're opposing, what you're conflicting with, all these energies you need to be mindful for, because with all these other overloads of energies, entering a new space, you don't want to take this into your new space. You don't want to bring on the old baggage. That is why everything is pretty much in retrograde, because we are not going to go into this new era. We're not going to go into 2021 with anything to be left with 2020. Everything is purging. 2020 has been so off the chain. We dare not take none of this stuff into 2021, okay? So just be mindful, because you're entering this new space and you have to trust the process. You have to watch what you manifest and connect with. Your connections that you're experiencing, like I said, all these connections I got this week brought on the newer, higher levels of spirituality that I really want. It brought on the new opportunities, my communication, my third house in certain places on my birth chart have to do with how I communicate, and I need to work on that. Mine, I believe, is in the 9th house. Anyway, support-wise, I had to also get therapy this week. That was another breakthrough that I had with my mother, which shows on my chart. I had kid breakthroughs this week with sitting down and talking to my son in depth, sitting down and having to really take some things away from my Cancer daughter so she can heal. And I'm gonna get into Cancer's healing as well in a second. But one of my parents, my father, is still paying attention to stuff on Facebook. He actually checked again, because my page is public. He went on a post I had about healing and checked like on that. So I just noticed everything, and even though he's not talking to me, at least I noticed that he is on my page paying attention to what I'm talking about. And the other parent is just giving me what she can give me at the time, even though we're still kind of pushing through our issues. She is definitely giving of her resources, and I appreciate that. I'm starting a new job this week. My youngest is turning a new year older tomorrow. It's all kinds of new things that we're moving into. I know I'm not just by myself. I know I'm not the only one going through these transformations. My only son is making significant transformations. My oldest is transforming into a young adult and having to be more responsible for herself. So it's just like forced healing, especially coming from what we're going into talking about, Chiron in Aries and retrograde. But when you really start connecting with your soul's purpose, when you start connecting with God, when you know the universe has your back, when you know things come in divine time, Spirit will show you, or your ancestors will show you, all these things that you want and need for yourself, and the things that are distracting you from getting those things, that are bad for you or that really mess you up, that just don't serve purpose in your life anymore, with Neptune and Pisces in retrograde energy, you will no longer be able to sit in unreal, fake, unbelievable, falsified energies anymore, because the retrograde is showing you that it really isn't real. For example, the whole Wayfair thing this week. A lot of people don't believe in conspiracies, but it's in plain sight. This is not going to stop. You just can't keep saying things are conspiracy issues. You have to kind of face the facts with certain things. Then Saturn in Capricorn retrograde are like our foundations, our roots, where we come from in the world, in a sense, our own stability in the world, how we feel stable in the world. The world is breaking all those things down as we know it. The world is ending as we know it, meaning it's not ending, but just meaning how we have lived it for so long is not going back to those kind of things. Never will be. Don't expect school to be like just popping up just because they say it's going to pop up. Ignore those illusions. Understand that they don't know what they're talking about, that it probably is not the truth. Okay? Pluto in Capricorn in retrograde is showing us how we have tried to take power and control of certain things and manipulate certain things on a positive or negative, level. The things we obsess over too, and how life has always been predictable, but now in retrograde, here's when you are going to constantly try to rely on the divine, or even though it's Sunday and most people went to church today, whatever, the saying is there's no faith without works. That's a story for another time, but it's time to rely on thyself. Is basically what I'm saying. All these retrograde energies are causing breakthroughs, and these energies are not going anywhere. They're pushing logic aside and keeping you away from your falsified state and being and the way you've been living. It's not our world anymore. You can't hide from it. You can't look away. You can't scroll past. You can't dismiss it. You can't delete it. You can't block it. You have to face these facts. You have to face these demons. You have to face these illusions, especially with the Neptune retrograde. And you have to see what it is. You have to see yourself for who you are. You have to see what things are. You have to say how things are going. You have to see and be acknowledging where it's going to go. You have to see why it's happening this way. The ego piece. The ego comes from Aries. The ego also comes from the sun. The ego piece is constantly evolving. You will feel sensitive because of the sun in Cancer. You will feel emotionally triggered. Mercury retrograde and being in Cancer, ruling the communication and the way we've been messaging in our minds. It has to deal with our minds and our perceptions since childhood, because Mercury is in an early realm too. I believe it's in 9 degrees now, going direct. All these things are mostly being felt in Cancer people because it's in Mercury, because we're in the sun. You know, those masculine energies as well. Masculine energies are healing. Masculine energies are being forced to change. And the ones who get hit the most are Cancers or Capricorns right now. Cancer's always been hit hard the most because they're called the crybabies, because they are, you know, that intuitive water sign. But they are cardinal sign as well, and cardinal signs are known for being very independent and rulers, leaders. And, you know, Aries is a cardinal sign as well. That is the leading #1 ruling sign. So, Cancers rule from their emotions and their intentions, and Capricorns are full of boundaries and restrictions in this world. Cancers are full of feelings and emotions in this world. So these are why they're being hit so hard right now with all these energies that we've been discussing. And somewhere on your chart you have Cancer or Capricorn energies. Everybody does. So giving a look at that, you look and see where your power is in the planet's placement, or your house placement, your sun, moon, and rising, especially your family, your home, wherever you are rejected by your family, your friends, your community, your platform, the social media piece. These energies are triggering your position in Cancer. Mars in Aries makes you want to fight even right now, because Mars is that fiery, go-getting, aggressive, motivating planet, and so is Aries. These are the same characteristics. Aries is at home in Mars. So is Scorpio. Aries' ego will also force you to back out sometimes because it is too much. You could be all talk, no action. You could be too irritable like a Cancer with this Aries energy, and you could create big irritating energies. I know one of my friends, who I'm not talking to currently at this time, is a Cancer sun and an Aries moon, so this is a tremendously intense time for her right now, I feel. Her birthday was this past week too. Cancer energies give you a need for feeling wanted and secure, and they hold off on, it's saying for you to hold off on learning these lessons first from Capricorn and being totally vulnerable with Cancer, and seeing how you've manipulated things in the past. Sorry, y'all. One thing I need to work on that I did start doing but didn't get back to in Mercury retrograde was clearing out my phone, so I had to do that really quick. But what I was saying is that I had to learn how to obtain things that work for others, meaning like I had to go to school because that worked for my parents, or I had to get a certain job like in teaching. Love kids, don't like the system. That is part of my 10th house, moving on. My 10th house at the 29th degree, moving on in my career, right? So I was criticized if I didn't do things their way. Like I was criticized if I thought different, criticized if I did different. Still am. Talking to my exes last night, I had to explain to them that the things that they did to me, I really had to do to them. It wasn't right, but I'm not repressing my issues anymore. As I grow, I'm taking charge of them. I'm better now at it, and I'm turning it into energy that I can impress upon others to make those same kind of decisions and help them learn what is important for them to heal from. So in Aries, for the collective, Chiron being in retrograde is triggering the world, and the wound is your strength. There's power in these wounds. There's power in healing. And Chiron, for just a better detail, Chiron, before I move on, is it passes on through the signs for every 8 years. Every 2 to 8 years. So it's very weird. I'm not even sure how it sets up like that. I don't know how it decides which sign is going to be in for 2 years or which sign is going to be in for 4, 3, 6, who knows. But just wanted to throw that out there. You take charge of those energies even while you're learning, through these retrogrades and drastically changing with the eclipses and the fire energy and from Aries and Mars and the action you take and all these planets doing all these things and these asteroids doing these things, especially with the Capricorn masculine energy and the Cancer feminine energies protecting us and healing us. All this is reminding us of what is all needed to be done on Earth. And it's not going away until we learn, individually and as a collective. All of us are learning about, whatever wounds we carry in this life or even in our past lives that we haven't learned from still. Because, we're not going to sit and wait for everybody, of course. The world is not going to sit and wait for everybody, but it'll keep happening until you learn from it. So these could be past life wounds that me, myself, didn't learn in my past life, and here I am still dealing with it right now. As far as me dealing with how to relate to people and dealing with how to relate to my money and, keeping myself aware and abreast and handling that. The placements show what you're healing from, your houses, your stelliums, all that, and how you've been living this long on this earth. They say God doesn't give you too much to handle, but these are things that you definitely cannot handle. This is definitely when you hit rock bottom kind of energy. This is the world now, like it's kind of at rock bottom, but somehow, some way, a revelation brings you up out of all this, and all your falsies, all your illusions, all the lies and deception that's happened even in this world is coming up out of this space in our life. It's triggering us because we're sitting in the middle of it, and we're working through it right now, but it is bringing up all this to heal from. It is collectively forcing us to heal. And there are these out of nowhere intuitions that we're feeling, and connections and awakenings and breakthroughs that we're making, that are throwing cracks in us. And the cracks are kind of bringing the light through. It's like unconditional love comes in wherever you're broken, wherever in the ego that you are broken or feel bad at. But the ego also will show you how you're in your own way, right? So it's getting it out of the way with this Chiron and retrograde energy. You're receiving from the universe, you're receiving unconditional love. You're receiving this from connections you're making. Anything you've been holding on to in a wounded area, same shit, different day. Once you let that shit go in a new space, you will heal. Especially empaths. I know, shout out to Star. We were talking about this earlier this week. My friend Star, she's a Libra sun and Scorpio rising, and I'm a Scorpio sun, Libra rising. So we're connecting. But empaths need to heal, because the healer definitely needs healing, right? And you're having these breakthroughs. So what are you exactly protecting and holding on to? That's what is important to know before I end this today. I told y'all my individual healing and wounds that I need to break through, right? Because you look on your birth chart and see what is your individual, where your Chiron placement is and what you need to heal from. And you can either ask me for that info, like I said, a la carte, or you can research it yourself. But it's like a soul searching for everyone in the universe, individually and collective right now. I would say it's the Capricorn themes, especially Saturn's lessons, what the world as a collective needs to exactly be focusing on and breaking through, especially in this world. Chiron says, I know this hurts, but you've been avoiding me, and it's time to heal and break this down. God is good. The universe always has our backs. All those sayings, the things happen in divine time, Aries is the leader sign. It's taking us into this new beginning energy again. It's starting us at that primary state again. It's an ego sign. Aries is all about striving and doing and taking action, especially Aries sun, moon, and rising, and Chiron Aries in retrograde. My camera keeps coming off, y'all, so let me wrap this up. The universe always has our backs, as I was saying, so especially these Aries energies, sun, moon, and rising, with Chiron and Aries in retrograde, it makes you question your strength. Okay, the opposing sign is Libra, my ascendant, so it's also questioning your partnerships, the groups you are in, the associations you have, and it's important also that you not only do this for yourself, but with help. So that is when the Libra, the opposing sign, steps in and says, you know, where's my Aries leader? How am I going to build the relationships with people so I can get what I need to healed? And what are you relating to with all this as well in the world? Who can you run to and who can you rely on? All right, so I'm going to end this here. I'm not sure how long this took, but I appreciate you all listening. I had to get out a lot. I told you I was going to be a lot. I'm trying to keep up my energy because I gave y'all a lot. So hopefully you've taken this, you've digested this in certain periods. I know it's long. Take it in, listen to it again, ask questions, leave comments, subscribe, like it, please. I appreciate your support. I'm teaching everyone abundantly, empowering many, Zakia, enlightening everyday, TMZ. Get a Life is my company. Get a Life is GIDALYFE Incorporated. You can find me on my business page on Instagram, GIDALYFE_INC. Get a Life stands for Getting It Done. Y'all, I'm so tired. Getting it done abundantly, loving yourself forever. Get a life. Thank y'all for tuning in to episode 12. Y'all have a wonderful week. Shout out to my daughter Zane. Happy birthday early, baby. Mommy loves you. Shout out to all cancers in your last week. And I will see y'all midweek. Check in on Wednesday, right before the Leo new moon, right before we celebrate Leos. Love y'all. Peace.